Now that Peter Parker owns Parker Industries, he's become a big target for various terrorist organizations. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then verbatim dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is taking place in the all-new, all-different Marvel, and is taking place after his situation with the Zodiac Group. A little distraction from the overall storyline that is happening in Amazing Spider-Man. 3 weeks ago, a prisoner was being transported when a group of individuals teleport in above the prison transport led by Cloak and Dagger. They quickly disarm and throw the prison guards off the ship, and then they walk into the cell telling their boss that they are here for him. And he replies by telling them they're wrong. He doesn't want to go with them. He doesn't have a choice though, as something begins to take over. His skin goes jet black and his hair goes white. I'm back. Cloak and Dagger have just freed Mr. Negative from his imprisonment. He then steps outside to one of the guards, touches them, forcing them to do his bidding. His powers are mind control over anyone that he touches, and he is on his way to China. Meanwhile, weeks later on the rooftop of Parker Industries Shanghai, he's enjoying some pork and spinach dumplings from Lian Tang, his driving instructor and the pilot of the Spider-Mobile when Spider-Man doesn't need it. She's also Peter Parker's girlfriend. As he's called in for a business meeting, they drive off the side of the building and straight down, where he arrives at the meeting and he meets Qing Hao, and they discuss the burning of clean green fuel for the future. The fuel that powers the Spider-Mobile, and the research is headed up by Philip Chang. As they discuss the applications, everyone sees the police searching Peter Parker's offices, so he asks what's going on. It's an extra level of security for the celebration tomorrow since Mr. Negative is back in town. They also ask if Peter Parker can send his personal bodyguard Spider-Man to a situation in a construction yard where a worker is wildly swinging a wrecking ball around. He swings on over and catches the wrecking ball, naming it Miley Cyrus. He then starts singing the lyrics to Wrecking Ball as he flings the ball into a safe area while grabbing the construction worker. The man tells Spider-Man that he had no idea what came over him, but seeing the patch and knowing that Mr. Negative is in town, Spider-Man has an idea what happened. He heads back to his office and he walks in as Peter Parker, but as he walks into his office, a portal opens up and in walks Cloak and Dagger. They explain that Mr. Negative would like to speak with Peter Parker. He dodges a few of their moves, confused as to what is happening, and then Cloak warps in Mr. Negative and he grabs Peter Parker. Now that Peter Parker is under his control, he will show Mr. Negative the proper respect by only speaking to him when spoken to. He then goes on to explain. During the celebration tomorrow, Parker will slip the shade narcotic onto Shang Qingxiao. The drug will remove his inhibitions and the world will see him for who he really is. It will show the world his dark side. Cloak then drops Peter Parker back off in his office, but instead of being mind controlled, Peter Parker is fine. You see, Mr. Negative's corrupting touch only works on a person once, and he used it on Spider-Man back in Dark Reign, so it won't work on Peter Parker. Luckily, Mr. Negative doesn't know that Spider-Man and Peter Parker are one and the same. But now, Peter does know Mr. Negative's plans, so as Cloak goes to leave, Peter hits him with a spider tracer, and then after ditching his girlfriend on the roof of the building, he goes right to work tracking down Cloak. While swinging, he gets to work delegating at the same time. He calls up the police to request some backup, then he calls Anna Maria to check in on the company in London, and then the company in New York. While London and New York are going crazy right now due to Peter firing Sanjani and Harry having other obligations, Spider-Man gets to the factory where they are mass producing the shade drugs. As he lands on the wall, and everyone can tell that he's there, he simply tells them, "Hey guys, up here, I'm the proverbial fly on the wall," and then he jumps in. But Cloak informs him that he was never funny, even before Mr. Negative turned to them. Okay, ouch, that hurt. The drugs begin flying through the air as Cloak begins to flee and the drugs begin to stick to all of the guards. Alright, that was actually pretty smart, but a completely evil move, Spider-Man says, realizing that he is now surrounded by crazed individuals. Meanwhile, Mr. Negative is talking to himself. You see, Mr. Negative is also a normal man named Martin Lee. He changes back and forth, and right now he has Martin Lee chained up while Mr. Negative is feeding him a speech through the TV where it's been pre-recorded. He explains that while they are polar opposites and they normally argue over their goal, this is one goal that he thinks that they can agree on. The crime boss that started all of this and wrecked Martin Lee's life has become old man Shang Qinghao, and through some shady deals in the government, he has gone from being a crime lord to China's greatest humanitarian. If Martin Lee agrees to stop fighting with his evil half, they can stop Qinghao together. Martin doesn't even need to think about it. Alright, I'm in. Back in the factory, Spider-Man is webbing everyone to the walls while trying to dodge Dagger's daggers until she finally hits her mark, throwing him to the ground. Cloak and Dagger begin to approach the now beaten Spider-Man as he begins to apologize to Tandy, and then kicks a box of the drugs onto her. She begins going crazy, so Cloak has to grab her and teleport them both away. Spider-Man then gets to his feet, remembering that he still has a tracer on Cloak, and Mr. Negative still thinks that he has Parker, and Parker now has a general idea of where the base is. For once, Spider-Man is holding all of the cards. This doesn't make sense. This is Spider-Man. It's all supposed to go wrong. Meanwhile, while Leanne Tang is standing at the bedside of her mother, and she calls up Scorpio, the leader of the Zodiac Gang. If you want to see Spider-Man's first run-in with the Zodiac Gang, then check out the last video in this series linked down below. Miss Tang asks him for more of the experimental drugs that are easing her mother's pain, but Scorpio tells her that there are only so many times that she can supply the security codes to the building to him, revealing to us that Miss Tang is the one that gave up the access codes in the last adventure. Really should just watch that last video. She tells Scorpio that she'll give him something more, the Spider-Man. And then she walks in to see the one thing that stands a chance against him, the Spider-Mobile. The next day, Peter Parker tells the world about his new green fuel at the celebration as he goes upstairs to give the award of the Humanitarian of the Year to Kwang Hao. He then walks over with Mr. Negative watching from a TV and hands Mr. Kwang Hao the award. And nothing happens. Mr. Negative is confused. That dose of shade should have been near lethal. Realizing that something is wrong, he has Cloak teleport everyone there, but don't worry, it was more than enough time for Spider-Man to change into his costume. Mr. Negative warps in, shouting that Parker has a lot to answer for, when all of the members of the police force raise their guns. And that's when Mr. Negative realizes this whole thing was a trap. Spider-Man jumps right in trying to tag Cloak, but he teleports away, and it's a good thing that Spider-Man put the tracer on him earlier because that shot follows Cloak and removes Mr. Negative's hold on him. Looks like you just lost your ride, Mr. Negative. During the confusion though, a stray shot shoots Kwang Hao, revealing that he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Spider-Man is actually proud of himself. Every angle is covered and it looks like he's going to win without any real problems until the Spider-Mobile comes crashing into the wall, grabbing him. He whips out of the building and into the city. He looks so surprised that Leanne is attacking him. Back inside, Cloak grabs Tandy and changes her back to normal as well, leaving only Mr. Negative in the building. Then back on the side of the building, Spider-Man is trying to dodge Leanne while Mockingbird calls him to inform him that she found who Parker Industries' mole was. Let me guess, Leanne Tang? How did you? Oh, wild hunch. Well, she's working for Zodiac because Scorpio is supplying her mother with experimental drugs to save her. Well, that seals it. There's no larger motivation than love. Realizing that he's lost, Mr. Negative tries one last thing and he touches Kwang Chao, making him one of Mr. Negative's slaves, and then he sends him out the window. Spider-Man on the side of the wall is trying to convince Leanne that this isn't worth it when they both see the man go flying past them as he is jumping to his death. Leanne moves the Spider-Mobile and catches him, but then the Spider-Mobile begins to slip off of the building, so Spider-Man whips up its legs and holds it tight, but it's too heavy, and they all begin to plummet to the streets down below. Leanne, don't worry, we're gonna be okay, Spider-Man shouts, and she shouts back, how? Because Spider-Man's Spidey sense isn't tingling, which means that Cloak teleports in right below them to catch it because there was no immediate danger, and he teleports everyone back to the ground below. It's good to have your friends back. Everyone lands on the streets and Spider-Man walks over to Leanne. She is a mess. She wants to know, is she fired? Is she going to jail? Just tell her mom that she will be, and Spider-Man stops her. He understands why she did it and why she was the mole. Maybe she can dig up some dirt for the good guys now. With that resolved, he walks over to Cloak and Dagger, and they all teleport to Mr. Negative's base of operations as he's already fled the scene of the crime. But they don't discover him. They only discover a message left for them by Martin Lee, stating that he is the same as Mr. Negative now. He wants his revenge. And if they are smart, they'll leave him alone. So they all move back to the rooftop, where Spider-Man asks them, you guys want to get some dim sum? It's a nice little bridging story, and personally I enjoyed it, but it looks like we're going to go back into the Zodiac story next with Spider-Man. So if you want to read the next issue, then go ahead and pick up Amazing Spider-Man to continue this storyline right now. I'm Benny the Comicstorian, and you can follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian or Instagram at Comicstorian, or you can check out our gaming channel, Eligible Monster Gaming, where we bring you gaming comic books, let's plays, and unnecessary censorship. I'll see you guys next time right here.